there, cover the cut used by
Blocks the layup attempt. That's big time by Giannis.
Lakers regain the lead.
So the other day, right, I was listening to a clip of a recent debate between Ticket TV on his show on the Players' Choice channel. And the debate was about Denver Nuggets for Eric Gordon not being able to make it to the 2023 All-Star game. But before I get into that, like, share, subscribe, and also comment down below. Also helps the channel. All right, let's get into it. So the guest that Ticket was debating said that Eric Gordon didn't really belong in the All-Star game with averaging 16 points per game. When Ticket said he actually could have made it with that point average, right? And then the guest said no player has made it to an All-Star game averaging under 20 points per game. I know that's wrong. I know that's definitely wrong. But on Ticket's behalf, I know there's been plenty, and there's been some players besides the superstars have made the All-Star game due to their team being in first or second place in their respective conference. All the guests had to do was look at the history. Well, if you look at the All-Star game this year, like the roster, some teams had two All-Stars in it, either the superstar or the supporting cast. Jrue Holiday, for instance, he averaged 19.2 points per game, 7 assists and 5 rebounds, shooting 47.5% from the field. Like I said, from past few years, there's always been like multiple players from one team making it to the All-Star due to the record. For example, for Bucks at least, it either has been Giannis paired with Chris Middleton and now Jrue Holiday. Same with the Lakers with LeBron and Anthony Davis, or even Golden State. You have to go back to the early 2000s. I think there's multiple teams that had several players from one team to make it to the All-Star game. As I remember correctly, the 06 All-Star game had 4 Detroit Pistons players in that game. Ben Wallace, Rasheed Wallace, Richard Hamilton, and Chauncey Billups. All of them was reserves. I think we all know that Ben Wallace did not average double figure in points. Rasheed averaged 15. Richard Hamilton actually averaged 20. And Chauncey Billups averaged 18.5 points per game. So, yeah, same players that never made it to the All-Star game, average under 20 points per game is false. And it happened again 9 years later. It happened with the Atlanta Hawks in 2015. They had 4 players because they was the best team in the East. They was the number 1 seed. They had Al Horford, Paul Millsap, Jeff Teague, Kyle Korver, which I did not understand how you get there, but he was a replacement for Dwayne Wade because I think he was injured that year. I always thought it should have been Brandon. I forgot his freaking name. He played on the Bucks during that time. He got crossed up by Kyrie. He came in that trade with Brandon Jennings. He came in that trade when they sent Brandon Jennings to Detroit for Chris Middleton. I forgot this guy. Brandon Knight. There it is. I thought Brandon Knight should have been an All-Star that year. But anyways, there was 4 individuals that average. Let's start. Al Horford, 15. Paul Millsap, 16. Jeff Teague, 15.9. And Kyle Korver, 12.1. And they did not have a single player on that team to average over 20 because those were their 4 main players. And he also had a coach with Budenholzer coaching the All-Star game. And then we saw it again with the Golden State Warriors twice. I remember this. Everybody should remember this. Draymond Green making it. Even when Kevin Durant was there. We all know Draymond Green never averaged 10 points per game in a season. His current averages right now, I think, is 7.5. And some of y'all might want to compare. I know some of y'all want to compare Draymond Green to Ben Wallace and even Dennis Rodman, which is not a comparison. I think Draymond Green, as you all know, is highly overrated. And now those two dudes' levels because we have not seen Draymond Green holding Shaq or any player like that in the league. Motherfucker can't hold freaking Giannis. So what? Anyways, I'm not even gonna discuss that. Stupid. But yeah, this is true. There's been plenty of players that average below 20. I don't know what that guy is even talking about. And some of those dudes actually were first-time All-Star with those averages too. They weren't like they was second or third, fourth, fifth time All-Stars. I think for the Atlanta Hawks, they was All-Stars first time, I think. Same thing with Draymond. So that's a false. I don't think Drew Holiday averaged above 20 points when he made it the first time when he was on the Sixers. So yeah, but I think it all comes down to voting. Most of these guys have been voted in as reserves anyway. I think most of them are voted in due to their team's record. I think the same thing you can say with Steve Nash. I think he was a starter as well, but Steve Nash was also the main focal point for the Phoenix Suns. So it was there was no way in the world he was not gonna get in as a starter. He was the MVP as well. But yeah, I think it's all due to your team's record and output they put out. Drew Holiday this year has been the second best player on the Bucks, and even sometimes leading the way when Giannis isn't there. But as for Aaron Gordon, stat-wise, for both him and Jamal Murray, they averaged 16. If anything, it probably would have been Jamal Murray before Aaron Gordon. But Aaron Gordon had the deck stacked against him in the forward position with first-time All-Star Jaren Jackson, who's also averaging below 20, Paul George, and Lauri Markkanen. I guess Jaren Jackson and Markkanen because they was balling this season at times. Utah and the Memphis were a high seed before Utah fell off. Paul George and the Clippers were slacking at the time he was voted in, still is, but due to his popularity and respect playing in LA, somewhat keeping that team together as Kawhi was out, he gets the nod. And you can't really discount the improvements in production of De'Aaron Fox and Anthony Edwards, who replaced both Zion and Stephen Curry, who were injured this year. Replacing Curry with Fox made sense. Edwards replaces Zion, another guard. I don't know, but like I said, you can't deny Anthony Edwards was balling. He's probably been the best player. Yeah, he was the best player in Minnesota this year. They definitely not Rudy Gobert, and Cat was out for half of the season anyway. Plus, the West was pretty much up and down at the first seed in the beginning of the years with either Memphis, New Orleans, Phoenix, Utah, and Denver. In that position. But yeah, the deck was definitely stacked against Aaron Gordon. But the All-Star game, I always thought it was just a popularity contest to a point anyway. I think every team should have a representative for the game like they do in baseball. Because in baseball, I still think they do it. Correct me if I'm wrong. There's an all-star from every team in baseball. But baseball has more positions, so it makes sense. But still, I think they can probably do it. But then again, you might be leaving out more deserving people. Because imagine they got an all-star from Houston this year, or Detroit or San Antonio, but it is what it is. But to say there's never been a under 20 point per game score in an all-star game is definitely not true. But tell me what you guys think. I just felt I had to do this, just to put that in the air.